This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lorraine's, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
BTL, coming at you!
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Man, we've had an exciting week in the BTL studios following the Bassmaster Open on the Red River. Big shout out to Keith Poche for jumping on for a very candid interview. If you haven't listened to that, goes kind of in depth onto how things went down on the Red River this past weekend, and then Hallman in studio yesterday breaking down the action. Short week, real quick turnaround. We've got a hurricane coming up through Florida, so I know there's a lot of BTL listeners in Florida on that coast. I kind of grew up going to Paso Grill on the Gulf side, kind of right where that, I think it's now almost a Category 4, is fixing to hit with the storm surge. So thoughts with all those in Florida that will be affected with that, and then the flooding afterwards. Insignificant compared to that, or some who knows what it'll do for the Open at Hartwell, but hopefully it will not be as bad as I guess they're currently predicting. I just kind of saw it before I came in. I had an interesting morning, and I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but I thought I had plugged my phone in, and I hadn't. And I had low battery because I was playing like Angry Birds last night before I went to bed. And then I woke up and I see our guest today. We'll bring him in right now. My guest today, Joe Opager from MLF. We're going to actually go over all of the different schedules, changes, and things going on at MLF for 2023. So Joe always does a really good job of breaking that down and putting it in terms that we can understand. I'll bring it in. What's up, Joe?
Hey, what's happening?
Have you ever done that where you thought you were being responsible, you set the alarm, and then something happens? I've had like my phone like reset over the course of the night where I was like, do you want to make updates? And then yes, and it kills it. I've had, the power go out on all, but I woke up and I usually get up, the show starts at 8:30. My house is about a half hour away. But I always wake up when it's dark, come in, have about an hour to get my coffee, get things situated. And I woke up this morning, and it's that awful feeling of it's light outside. It's not supposed to be light outside, and then I hit the phone, and it doesn't turn on. I set like 3 or 4 different alarms. You ever had that happen to you?
I have. I can't recall the last time. It doesn't happen often. But
yeah, I feel like we should be knocking on wood, but
yeah. Good news is, you got to sleep in a little bit. You're here. We're on time. Everything's all good, man.
It is. I've heard some crazy tournament stories of guys who have slept in, past like championship day events, overslept for like the classic, leading like 2-day team tournaments, and one of the guys doesn't show up. Just some crazy stuff in the past. I've always wondered, like when I've got a good draw, like, and I'm fishing all the opens, right? So 220 boats in each one of these events, and you've got a co-angler. I'm always like, well, what happens if the dude doesn't show up? Like, what do you do? You're kind of work for, do you have any idea what like MLF does? Like, let's say you're boat 7 and they start calling boats, and like your co-angler's like a no answer, no show, like, and you've got a spot that you got a draw of 1 out of 300 boats that you need to get to. What the heck do they do?
Sure. So I have seen that happen a couple of times where guys sleep in. I actually, it kind of happens often around daylight savings time in the spring.
Right.
We usually have a tournament over that weekend. And I specifically recall, like, there was an event at Lake Hartwell, and we were launching at 7 a.m. and Shiniki Fukai was nowhere to be found. Yeah, so we were calling him, wondering what was going on, hoping he was okay. And yeah, 8 a.m. rolls around and he comes rolling in like normal to set the launch, wondering where everybody is. And we're like, Shin, yeah, everybody launched an hour ago. So there was that going on. I've heard of guys oversleeping, but we've always been able to get a hold of them and they're there shortly after. So I've seen that once or twice happen too, but nobody has just ever not answered the phone or disappeared on us altogether. So that's the good news. But yeah, daylight savings time is always a ringer for those guys in the spring.
And I guess as long as you make it, you're not technically oversleeping. I thought Sonic was going to get me this morning. I stopped for a quick coffee there, and I was like, how long does it take to pour some ice-cold coffee into a cup? Because Black Rifle had the long line. Have you done Have you tried the Black Rifle stuff yet?
I haven't. No,
dude, you need to. It's legit.
It's not up here in Minnesota yet. I mean, it probably is at certain like specialty retailers and stuff, but I've never seen it in an actual store or anything like that.
Speaking of Minnesota, it is now that time of the year. Obviously, I see your Brian Robinson jersey behind you. We've had him on the show a couple times. Proud tackle shop owner.
Yeah, the tackle trap.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the Vikings this year? They snuck past the Lions last week, but 2-1. Are you optimistic this year for your Minnesota Vikings?
I was. I mean, beating the Packers after week 1, I was like, oh gosh, this is our year. Super Bowl. Finally, this is the year. And then, yeah, we kind of had a little hiccup Monday night against Philly, and they, made us look kind of silly. And then a close game against the Lions last weekend. But I think the Lions are actually pretty good this year. They've got a little bit of a different team. Dan Campbell and that new coaching staff, they kind of got that team turned around. So I think the Lions are pretty good, but the Vikes are pretty good too. I think we're a playoff team. We're going to be contenders in the North with the Packers. And, fingers crossed for a good year.
Very nice. Corey Weaver says, who oversleeps for fishing? I think it's one of those weird deals where when you feel the stress, like you're in the tournament and you feel the stress, you've been getting up for 5, 6, 7 days in a row, maybe got a little bit of sun poisoning in there. The dude that's staying at the hotel next to you, caught 3 fish and he's like, hey, pitcher of margaritas on me tonight. And you end out there. Like, it happens more than you would realize. Like, we've had stories of, the guys wake up and go, oh crap. I've also heard a lot of the stories of the guys, especially the guys who camp, who wake up after they've missed the cut, hear the boats taking off and go into an absolute panic. And then, realize, oh, I'm not supposed to be fishing today.
Sure. So yeah, I don't get to go fishing nearly as much as you would think. So when I'm actually going fishing, I've never overslept ever. Like my alarm clock is like, 6:50, 6:55, 7. Like get up when I'm going fishing, it's like 5:30 a.m. I've got 1 and I'm awake at 5:25 looking like, oh, okay, ready to go. Like, yeah. So when I'm actually on the water, that's sweet, but I don't get to do that a whole heck of a lot.
All right, let's get down to business.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. I almost wanted to say, let's get down to brass tacks. Is that right? I'm looking that up. Have you ever heard that saying?
I think I've heard it before. I've never used that saying, but I've heard it. It sounds like a Mark Jeffries thing.
Details of immediate practical importance. Very, very applicable in that situation.
Sure,
so that would have been the correct wordage, but I said business, which it sounded more like I was quoting a song. Let's get down to brass tacks. Things that are currently going on. Obviously, just wrapped up the Toyota Northern Division on the St. Lawrence River. I believe that belonged to Spike Stoker.
Yeah, Texas
guy. That is
guy.
one of the top 5 names in bass fishing. I believe there's one of the collegiate anglers. I don't know if he's graduated or not. Was named Thor.
Oh, yeah. I believe from Minnesota.
Was it Thor Swanson or something like that?
Yep. So, fun fact for you. That's my little brother's name. I've got a 24-year-old brother, and, his name is Thor.
Like birth name?
Birth name, yep. We're from
and you
Norway.
Wait a second. Wait a second. How did he get Thor and you got Joe?
Good question. Yeah, I don't know. My parents must have went through a little weird phase in the early 90s. But I'm Joe. My sister is Amy, Amelia, also fairly
Okay.
normal name. And then, yeah, Thor came like 8 years later.
I like it. But Spike Stoker. I don't know if that's his birth name or not, but he gets
Gosh,
the
we've had
job
some
done out
great
there.
names in the BFL this year, too. Like some of the winners, like Jack Daniel Hoy was one that I
Oh, I
saw come
remember
across.
that.
There was one, Tater Reynolds was another one. He won AOI in one of the BFL divisions. And like
Tater.
Tater Reynolds. And so just some of the names that I see come across my desk and my press releases are pretty good. And Spike was up there this past weekend.
Man, we need to go back and do like a top 10 names in bass fishing right now.
That'd be
That
sweet.
would,
There'd be some good ones.
yeah, I need to go back and do that. But Toyota Series wise, is it done now? Or are there a couple more?
It is regular season. Yes, we've got the championship coming up next month. Pretty much, 1 month from today. But so that's kicking off. But the regular season wrapped up this past weekend on St. Lawrence. Great Toyota Series season, one of the best we've ever had, if not the best we've ever had.
Yeah, you guys had almost full fields across divisions, it seems. Do you know any of the numbers, like on what the average was? But I remember the beginning of the year, you had like 300 plus boats in some of them, but the participation for the Toyotas really seemed to stay up throughout the entire year. What I mean, do you attribute that to the payback, the fisheries that you guys went to? It just seems like the Toyotas are the absolute bread and butter right now. There's a lot of guys that are dropping, $1,500 to fish those things.
Yeah, I think it was all the above as what you mentioned. I mean, the payouts are pretty sweet, especially if you're running a Phoenix boat. We're visiting some world-class fisheries, across the entire country. And so, with the expansion, into 6 divisions of it, just a couple of years ago, that really opened up a lot of avenues for guys that can fish close to home and, for fairly low cost, but still some really massive payouts. So, yeah, it's Toyota Series is rolling. And we kind of touched on some of the changes for next year. Absolutely no changes to the Toyota Series. It's one of those, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And so no changes to the Toyota Series. Everything's rolling on for next year, just like it did this year.
All right, we'll start it. What I want to do is I want to start at the high school level, and then we'll work our way up to the BPT on all the
Sure.
changes. There's been a lot of press releases that have come out, a lot of schedules, a lot of format changes. My personal opinion, some really good stuff, some stuff that'll make you scratch your head. Hopefully we can understand all that by the end of this thing.
Sure.
High school wise, we've seen a massive explosion over the last couple years in high school bass fishing tournaments. Obviously started with FLW, but MLF still seems to put a high importance on the youth and up and coming anglers. You talk about the different high college programs that they have, some of the paybacks and national championship there. Obviously that trickles down to the high school too. So any major changes in the high school format for 2023?
Sure. So no changes to the tournament format itself. I mean, those events are still going to be run the same. We're still partnered with the TBF. And so the TBF runs the high school state championships around the country in each state. And MLF runs our high school open events. Now, I'm going to kind of lump high school and college together because we hold those events in conjunction with each other. Most of the times, the college events are held on Fridays. The high school events are held on Saturdays, and that's done kind of strategically, so that way the registration meeting for the high school anglers is at the same time as the college weigh-ins. That way they can network with the college anglers.
I like that. I did not know
coaches.
that.
Yeah. That's the reason why we did that. That way they can meet the college anglers. The college anglers can recruit these high school anglers. The college coaches can. So, that's all done strategically. But yeah, this year we've tightened it up a little bit. We're running 8 high school qualifying events in addition to the 8 college events around the country. And that's down a little bit, but it was literally just, right sizing kind of the circuits. The marketplace couldn't really sustain the number of events that we had been running. We were running 3 times the amount of high school and college events as anybody else out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't really sustainable. I mean, we tried to make it work, but that's why the reason that the schedule got tightened up a little bit this year, and basically just right-sizing it and moving from that regional conference model to just kind of a national model with 8 open events across the country.
And then to qualify for the national championship, the anglers can pick which of the open events that they'd like to fish. Is that kind of how that works?
Yep. So on the high school side, each field, 10% of the field advances to the high school fishing national championship. So if there's 10 boats, the winner is moving on. If there's 20 boats, the top 2 move on. Same thing with college. It depends on the field size. The top 12% of the college teams move on to the college fishing national championship.
All right. So currently, what we have out for college and high school, which I'm assuming, they're the same schedules, just based on what you talked about, just days apart. Is Harris Chain, Havasu, Lake of the Ozarks, Cal Delta, Gunnersville, Rayburn, and Hartwell. And I got a couple messages, and I see Eric is on here as well for the instant feedback, saying, those great fisheries, but dude, there's a large section of collegiate anglers, most notably or in the northern area. Sure. No derbies up there for them, and that has historically been. I mean, we've seen. I know Austin Felix, big on the Elite Series. Now he was used to University of Minnesota. We've seen a lot of northern anglers do really well. So, what say you, Joe, about why there's nothing up north?
Sure. So like I said, with the switch to the, kind of national model, it just didn't work out scheduling wise. Now in 2024, absolutely there will be tournaments up north. It kind of just plays out just like all of our other circuits where, we're going to have kind of a rotation of lakes, and we'll see how that goes. Now, I know that's not, what a lot of kind of, that doesn't help seniors this year, that we're coming next year. And it's disappointing. We want to run tournaments for everybody. But like I said, the marketplace can't support tournaments for everyone. So with the tightened up model, the schedule came out this year, and we heard some of the feedback, and we've been working behind the scenes. We haven't even officially announced anything yet, but I'm happy to kind of share that we have been able to figure out an event that we will be able to hold a kind of a northern, even though there are no more conferences, a northern college fishing event, just like we do kind of out west with the events piggybacking on the Toyota series. We're going to do that for our northern event. So we haven't even officially announced this yet. This is all coming together yesterday, kind of. So if I would have been on earlier this week, I wouldn't have been able to share this news. But the good news is it looks like on June 25th, we're going to be holding a college event that we're going to add one to piggyback on the Toyota Series event up at Lake Champlain. So, a couple of reasons we chose Lake Champlain. It's, great fishery, number one. It's a kind of a bucket list destination for a lot of even southern anglers. So we're hoping that, in addition to these northern teams that want an event up north, that some of these southern teams are going to come up and compete in this one too, because they're open to teams from across the country. So I know it's not the ideal scenario or solution, but it's all we're going to be able to do this year. And all I can say is that in 2024, we will hold some events, more events up north. I don't know when, where, how, but it's just kind of the nature of the beast with the scheduling. And, some of the Southeast guys may be upset next year because we're not coming to Florida or something like that. So who knows how it's going to go, but that's what's going on for this year. June 25th, we will hold a college event on Lake Champlain.
There you go. That's the breaking news.
Yeah.
For is there going to be the high school in coordination with that as well too, or just college?
Just college, because that's going in conjunction with the Toyota Series event. We're going to do the college on Sunday, which is kind of different. But again, we were just trying to, get these guys some options because, we feel their pain and their frustration. We hear it. We don't have the a solution that they necessarily want to hear with, 3 events up there and everything, but it's all we're going to be able to do at this time. So hopefully we've got a stacked field up there at Lake Champlain,
Yeah,
they're
that takes
catching
care of that
some
whole
that.
Northeast. And then if you're in that Midwest, that Wisconsin, Minnesota area, listen, you want to get out of there anyway when it's winter. I don't mean to talk bad about your neck of the woods, Joe, but Lake of the Ozarks isn't that far away for that March 18th event in Missouri. So, all right. Well, that's good. All right. That's some good news about the about high school and about the college stuff. So, hey, Joe, I want to take a first break of the show, and then when we come back, I want to just briefly glance over the BFLs. We talked about how the Toyotas are in good shape, and then we'll get into, I know what has been a very hot topic over the last couple weeks. I mean, the rumor mill has been running rampant for the last, 5 months about this deal, and that would be what is now. Well, I don't want to say what is now because, as you explained to it after, it is a new series, the MLF Invitationals, kind of the end of an era, just as it was when it went from the FLW Tour, was purchased by MLF, and went to the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, and now the MLF Invitational. So we will dive into that hot topic when we come back to BTL. It is BTL. Yeah, it's a Wednesday. It's BTL on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this.
Your key to better fishing this season is Elite FS, now available at a new lower price. Get Elite FS9 today for $9.99, and we'll throw in a C-Map reveal chart, our premium mapping solution, for free. Elite FS works with all state-of-the-art Lowrance sonar, from chirp, side scan, and down scan imaging with fish reveal to high-resolution active target live sonar. Elite FS9 and C-Map reveal. Offer ends August 31st.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
We're just about ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Get in order.
Once again, Drew Cook is in the driver's seat.
When you're catching fish for a living, you can't let a little cold, rain, heat, humidity, or anything else get in the way of a payday. I wear APCO. Any fish, any water.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on. Striking lures.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? Well, the Bass Tank is here to help you. The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
All right, welcome back, BTL, on a Wednesday, talking with Joe Opager from MLF. What's your official title again? I always forget it, like Head Media Relations.
Director of Communications.
Director of Communications.
Yes.
We've talked about the high school, we talked about the college, we talked about the Toyotas. BFL's staying pretty much the same.
Yep. No real changes to the BFLs.
I did have a question on the BFLs. Do you know how that how is a BFL schedule developed? Like, obviously you have like tournament, you have a big umbrella there, right? But then it gets down to you have to have someone who knows that area scheduling those tournaments because, you've got, if you're in Alabama, it's like if you're in Oklahoma, you have major team tournament circuits to win boats in and other big trails that you have to make sure you're not on top of those, and they have to make sure they're not on top of you. So while everything else is probably done at like a national level with tournament directors, do you know how, is it that the BFL tournament director for that region's responsibility to schedule those tournaments, or how does that work? Do you know that?
Yeah, kind of. I've never been in the room, and I don't know exactly kind of how the sausage is made, I guess. But I do know that each tournament director, there's 6 of them. Each director has 4 divisions that they oversee, and they're in charge of kind of determining the tentative schedule. Now, I don't know who makes the final decisions. I'm assuming probably Daniel Fennell. He kind of oversees all the BFL tournament directors. But yeah, so many kind of factors go into it. Like you said, participation. It's got to be a good fishery. It's got to have good facilities. It's got to be the right time of year where we're not overlapping any local events and the ramp is open and everything like that. So a lot of factors go into it. Like I said, I'm not really involved in the actual making of the sausage, but we could get a tournament director on here. We've got some great ones. You have them on, and you could ask them all about it if you're interested.
Yeah, I might be interested in that. I want to get one who's not afraid to talk about some of the dirt, because I bet there are some hellacious stories that have come out of the BFLs as far as just pickles that guys have got themselves in and protests and crazy stuff that has gone down.
I think Alan Gray would be a perfect guest for you. He's been doing it for a long time. He was the old walleye tournament director for quite a few years. And beloved by our anglers, and I'm sure he's got some great stories for you.
Really familiar.
He used to be, he used to be a weighmaster for the walleye series. He would do some of the bass stuff. Like I said, he's been doing BFLs. He's also the Western Toyota series and college director as of last year. So he's been around a long time. I'd love to get him on the show. He'd be a great interview. He's got a lot of energy and very enthusiastic. Great guy.
Yeah, we can set that up. It'll probably be November. I'm on like a 3-week road trip after this. I got the Open, and then I go up to a media event up north, and then I'm actually going to, and then I have another Open, and then I'm actually going to St. Jude in Memphis to tour their facility. I did the St. Jude Bass Classic there in Minnesota last year. Brandon, or Fat Cat Newton, emceed the event and stuff, and I was highly, highly impressed with what went down and how much money they raised. I think over $750,000 just last year by the anglers. And when they offered the opportunity, hey, do you want to come see the actual facility, where all the flags are that are represented by the different doctors from the countries that they come from. That was something that I was like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Definitely need to do that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to fish that event this year, strictly because of the Open schedule, but to have an opportunity to go see that for a day in the life and the difference they're making in the lives of kids.
Yeah, like you said, I hear about that a lot, kind of just being up here in Minnesota. That's a popular event up here. And like I said, they raised like $750,000 last year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you mentioned Fat Cat. Man, I don't know if you've seen him lately, but he's now just Cat. He's Cat Newton.
Yeah, he's doing some big stuff. I know that he's looking for the right path for him, like in the industry. Is serious about it. Really good to see him doing well. While we're on the topic of maybe some nonprofit stuff, and then we'll get back to the business at hand, I did want to mention this is the last week that you could sign up for the Bass for Beckers raffle. We had Matt Looney come on earlier this month, but for the last 3 or 4 years, I think he has a nephew with muscular dystrophy, I think. But Bass for Beckers, it's a federally recognized nonprofit. You buy like a $25 raffle ticket, you have a chance to win a Skeeter at the end of the year. He's done it for 4 or 5 years, and then it all goes to muscular dystrophy. But each month he has like a giveaway prize too. So in addition to being entered at the end of the year, you're also entered for the prize that month. And he asked me this month, for September, the month is a winter crappie trip with me on a secret lake in Oklahoma. Complete with like fish clean. Well, yeah, I would say that, but last month's trip was like a smallmouth trip with Brandon Polinick. So
yeah.
but anyway,
yeah,
so
that.
I think it's $25. It's just bass4beckers.com. It includes like your travel and stuff there too, within reason, I think. But crappie trip with me, and even if you win that, you're still registered for the giveaway at the end of the year, which is Matt Looney's fully rigged Skeeter Yamaha tournament boat. I keep meaning to mention that at the beginning of the show, so then when I crossed my mind, I was like, I'm just going to say,
yeah,
what's going on?
Sounds like a pretty incredible prize, and for $25, what the heck? Why not?
Yeah. Have you ever crappie fished?
Note, I'm sorry, say that again.
Have you ever crappie fished?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. What's a similar note, Joe?
I was going to say on a similar note, you and I are both Bass Fishing Hall of Fame board members, and we've got the big banquet coming up next week. So I was just going to remind everybody, the auction for the fundraiser opens on Monday next week, and there's some incredible stuff in there. So it's going to be open all week next week. Fishing trips with tons of guys. Yeah, Bill Dance, Skeet Reese, Josh Bertrand. Like, there's all sorts of trips. There's tons of cool autographed jerseys, tons of gear. So just was going to remind everybody, check that out as well, and make sure to place a bid on some sweet bass fishing memorabilia or experiences.
Definitely need to get a show in the can for next week that has to do with that, because unfortunately I will not be able to be there this year for that ceremony. I got an open.
Sure.
I'd probably save a lot of money going to the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame banquet instead, but hey, it is what it is. All right, let's get back to the tournaments. Like I said, we're kind of going through them, and this has been, Joe, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This has been the hot button series tournament topic of what's been going on for the last couple months, and that is, I guess, is it done? It's done and over. The Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit is a thing of the past now, right?
That is correct. Yes, the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit has ceased to exist.
I don't even know how to tackle this one. So it went from the FLW Tour to the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, and then they came out with a bunch of changes for 2023. Now, I think just as anglers and as human nature, you're going to want to compare and contrast what was and now what is.
Sure.
When I kind of talked to you about this, you said you need to look at it in a different way, like it is a completely new. Just explain, how would you explain it? Because, dude, let's be honest. The payback's less. The championship's gone. The carrot is not there. The top 30 only get 10 grand. It's still a $5,000 entry fee. There's fewer guys that are going to the BPT than there were this past year. Like, there's some guys that aren't happy, Joe. And I know you're not the guy who put this together. You're the guy who disseminates the information.
Sure.
But also under your job description would be answering the questions like, what the heck's up with the invitationals this year?
Sure. So a lot of those kind of items that you were just rattling off of the changes, like I can go through some of the reasoning why the decision was made as far as to some of those changes.
Yeah.
But overall, like the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit no longer exists. The kind of similar to the college, the marketplace can't sustain 3 professional level tours. And Major League Fishing tried to make it work and tried to do 3 top level tours, but it just wasn't working. And so that being said, like, we had to as it stinks.
You had to sit down and figure out something that worked.
It was losing money, and so
Yeah.
there was no way that it was a sustainable model. We tried to make it work. So basically, the decision was made: Pro Circuit's going away. So that decision was made, a couple months ago. All right, this is done. So then it became, what can we do? What can we, with these anglers that fish the Pro Circuit, how can we, provide an avenue or something for them to, continue to fish and not have to necessarily go to the Toyota series. So a bunch of ideas were kicked around, and it settled on this, this 6-event invitationals. It's not a new circuit. These basically are invitational qualifiers to advance to the Bass Pro Tour. These aren't for everybody. These are for anglers that want to become professional anglers and want to do this for a living. So that's what we did. 6 events. It's still a great schedule. 150 boat field. It's still some very good payouts. 80 grand to the winner, 115 grand if you're running a Phoenix boat. So it is what it is. What are some of the other questions that you have about it?
I mean, when this sat down with the heads and brass and the anglers, like, was there any angler input into this new invitational format as far as bringing them in, or did you have options A, B, C, and D? And like I said, I know this isn't your expertise with what your job title is and what you've done really well over there for over the past decade, but I mean, I've heard that there were some like no tournament circuits on the table, or drastically reduced stuff, or just a shell of what it was, that like it wasn't like this, that like there were nuclear options on the table as well. Is that a fair statement, that this is a kind of a best case scenario?
Sure. I mean, like I said, the Pro Circuit was going away, and so it was, what can we come up with to kind of replace that and to act as a gateway and the path to the Bass Pro Tour for these guys that want to fish, and compete as professionals. And this is kind of just the way to do that. You can still fish this and cash some very big checks. It's not going to be sustainable if you don't catch them. And honestly, as a qualifying series, it shouldn't be. That we've got other circuits for those anglers. This invitational circuit series is for anglers that want to compete as professionals on the Bass Pro Tour, and that's the goal, and that's why we created these.
So is it still operated then as it's like a weird limbo deal, right? Because I put like the FLW Tour and the Bassmaster Elite Series on the same level there for so many years. Obviously that it completely went through a different transformation in 2019. Now, instead of being the kind of gold, the top level standard, there was the BPT above it where people were qualifying, but it's still in, I think, the realm of fishing was considered a top level professional circuit. A lot of guys have made livings over there for the better part of 2 decades. Now, is it more of a stair step? You would put it on the level of the, let's compare it, the Bassmaster Opens per se, as
Sure.
to you're now fishing the invitationals, not as a career move, but to get to the BPT, where then that's where the top level is.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, like the Bassmaster Opens is for the Elite Series, the invitationals now are for the Bass Pro Tour. And, they're a little bit different format. There's only 6 invitationals, whereas there's 9 opens. The entry fees are a little more on the invitationals, but the payouts are a little more on the invitationals. Mm-hmm. The field is capped at 150. The top 8, like you had mentioned, that the number of qualifiers moving up into the Bass Pro Tour, that was basically to just kind of match the industry standard of 10%. So okay. 80 guys compete on the Bass Pro Tour. So we just wanted that, 10% number of guys kind of coming up every year, and the bottom 10% of guys would, kind of go down typically. So that was the reasoning behind that.
And then qualifying for, you've got a bunch of guys who have fished the Toyota series throughout the year, and qualified for the even though they were fishing to qualify for the Tackle Warehouse Pro circuit, does their qualification still stand for the 2023 MLF Invitationals?
It does. So,
Okay.
Yep. All I think of the 150 angler field, 123 of the spots are reserved for invitations that have been promised to guys already, and that's 75 from the Pro circuit last year. I think it's 30 from the Toyota series, and so on. 123 of those spots the invitations are already spoken for. Now, whether guys accept those invitations, we'll kind of see how that goes as registration opens up here in November. But
okay, so then the next big thing would be the championship, or the title, or the Forest Wood Cup, or whatever. I guess that then, if you're treating this as a stepping stone to the, and I don't even want to say a stepping stone, but that it's not the top level, just like the Opens have toyed with a Open Championship on or off again. Instead of having a championship this year, you're having the win and you're in to Redcrest. So you're going straight to Redcrest if you win one of the invitationals or the Angler of the Year, but in the process cutting the championship.
Yep, that is correct. So these are, like I said, one-off qualifying events. So although guys will fish all 6 and, compete for that Angler of the Year and try to get that Redcrest spot, yeah, there is no championship. Guys can fish 1, 2, 3, 4, or as many as they want. So no championship, but there are the 7 Redcrest spots that are up for grabs. For each tournament winner, they'll be advancing, and then the overall Angler of the Year winner, like you said, will also receive that spot. So,
but you don't have to fish them all to qualify for Redcrest. So you can jump in one, fish it, and qualify for Redcrest, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that's even if you're a BPT guy or if you're if you're a qualified angler.
Yep. No matter who you are. If you're in the tournament, absolutely, and you win, you're going to Redcrest.
And you don't have to even fish the rest of them.
Correct.
That's a big change then.
Yeah.
Because typically it's saying, hey, you got to fish all this stuff, which in this case would be potentially a $25,000 to $30,000 commitment to then go get a guaranteed $10,000.
Sure.
So that's interesting. I think that'll help with the numbers then throughout the year. There'll be a lot more ins and outs. So
yep.
All right, and then I think invitational wise, that'll be very interesting to see how that evolves and changes. Me personally, I think you're going to see a lot of evolution in that level or realm over the next 5 years. To figure out where that fits into the puzzle of the umbrella of MLF. You got a lot of talented anglers over there, Joe.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, if you look back 5 years ago, where was the sport? Bass Pro Tour didn't exist. The FLW Tour was still around, and yeah. So this is coming up on my 12th season in the industry, and yeah, that's one thing I've kind of learned is it changes a lot. So who knows what'll happen 5 years down the road, what it'll look like. But yeah, for 2024 or 2023, the new invitationals program is going to be pretty cool. It's a good opportunity for a lot of guys. Still going to be, all 3 days of the event will be live streamed. Still going to air on CBS Sports Network. And, so it's a good media platform for guys that are trying to take that next step and become a professional on the Bass Pro Tour.
You did mention a couple of things. 3 days, full field fishes all first 2 days, and then 50 anglers fish on the final third day.
Correct. Yep.
The zeroing of the weights is gone. It's cumulative.
3-day wait. That's correct.
Thank goodness. That's a personal thank goodness on my end. And then, all the days. So they cut 6 days out of it, but full field. I like that. I think that is a improvement over the zeroing of the weights in the 4-day event. So
yeah.
All right, let's move up to the BPT, the Bass Pro Tour. I'm seeing all over, and I'm a big fan of this, Joe. The team stuff I'm seeing all over the interwebs and social medias, guys that are posting with the matching jerseys.
Yep.
They're filming a team event this week, I guess. Obviously, I mean, it's no secret with as much social media has been out of the guys talking about it.
Yeah, you are correct. We are currently mid-filming of Team Series event number 1.
Are all of the BPT guys filming there, or is it like just a couple teams that are filming there, and then each of the filmings are taken at different places? You see what I'm saying?
Yep. So 9 of the teams are there. So 9 3-man teams. So 27 guys are there this week, and yeah, we're about to spill the beans, later this week. So they're up here in Minnesota. I'm not going to tell you where they're at, but they're up here in Minnesota. Yeah, and they're filming. So it's basically 3 2-day tournaments. So the first 2 days, 3 groups compete. The second 2 days, 3 new groups compete. And then the final 2 days, 3 new groups compete. So, and then the winner of each of those 2-man tournaments move on to the championship event. So, that's kind of how it goes. We've got 27 guys here in Minnesota, 9 of the teams. And I think the first event, first 2-day team series wrapped up yesterday. The second one starts today.
Okay. And then when will those be available for consumption?
Starting in January on MOTV and the Outdoor Channel. Right away after the new year, this episode will be airing.
All right. And then I'm assuming then the other guys who aren't fishing will fish somewhere else for their series. Like, is there going to be an eventual overall champion of this deal, or is this just a kind of a series the first year to kind of get your feet wet and see how it goes?
No, that's correct. We've got 3 cup events or team series events around the country, and then our championship. So the first event is going on right now. We'll have
the winner of this goes to the championship. Then the winner of the next one goes to the championship. The winner of the third one goes, and then you have 3 winning teams that are at the championship.
No. So
Dang, thought I figured it out.
3 teams from each event move on to the championship. So we'll have 9. So like I said, 3 teams are competing, Tuesday, Wednesday. 3 teams are competing Thursday, Friday. 3 teams are competing Saturday, Sunday. The winner out of each of those 3 move on. So from each event, 3 teams move on to the championship. So in that championship, there will be 9 teams competing at the final event. And they will all have won their qualifying event to make it there.
I gotcha. I've talked about this before on the show. Like I said, you don't have to confirm or deny or whatever, but not even deny on anything. But it's very interesting. This team concept is permeating a lot of individual sports. Like I was the bull riding with the team guys in the PBR is kind of the same thing. You have all these guys that are drafted and ranked, and now in the PBR, instead of one guy, they've got the team series. In the bowling, it's going to a major, there's a lot of team series in that. And then obviously the most recent and I think parallel comparison would be Live Golf with the teams, the Stingers and whoever the teams. I'm up in the air about the Live Golf thing, but the team aspect definitely adds a different element to it. And I'll be interested in all 3 of these because they're all kind of new. They're all within years, and they all kind of have their individual elements still too, right, to them, to see if this team thing in any or all of these sports sticks and people go with it or takes off, or whether they're like, nah, it's an individual sport. It always will be an individual sport. And it was kind of a fad that, we all tried and went through, and then it moves on. So I'm not just saying that in the fishing, but I think across the board, it's crazy on how many individual sports are grouping together to do team events that haven't been done in the past. So I like it. I think from an educational standpoint, BTL is all about entertain, educate, and engage, the 3 E's. I think the team event covers all 3 of those simultaneously and organically.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't caught the original pilot episode yet, you should go back and watch it. It's free at motv.com. But like you said, you can literally hear Chris Lane kind of giving Edwin tips on how to fish a frog, and hey, throw over there, look for this type of grass, or you can definitely learn a lot. And in addition to that, there's just more drama going on with you have personalities and big personalities that are in each other's ear all day long, and we're going to see it all play out in real time, coming up. So it's exciting, and it's going to be entertaining. I guarantee that.
All right, a couple more questions, and I'll let you go, Joe. Okay. The BPT came out with their schedule. Good schedule there. Let me see. I'll just read it. Kissimmee, Red Crest on Lake Norman, Cherokee and Douglas, Lake Murray, heavy hitters on Caney Creek and Bussy Break. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Gunnersville, Cayuga, St. Clair, and Saginaw Bay in Michigan. One of the things that we've seen over the last couple years are more and more fan engagements and activations at these events. Will that continue to increase in 2023, or will there be activations at all, or just at select BPT events throughout the year?
No, there definitely will be. I think we've got 4 planned for next year, and I don't know exactly what events those are going to be at. But yeah, it's something we've expanded on, since COVID. And everything's kind of opening back up. We've, experimented this year with kind of different meet and greets and, different festivals going on, and trying to find, our niche. And I think we're making a lot of progress there. We've had some great fan attendance at our events this year, and it's something we're going to continue to improve upon. But yeah, so to answer your question, yes, there will be fan activations. I don't know exactly when yet. Obviously, Red Crest will be a massive one. In Charlotte at Lake Norman. But I don't know for the rest of the year, but there will be a couple going on for sure.
All right, coming up, keep your head up for the Toyota Series Championship. That's on Gunnersville, right?
Yes, sir.
Last major one of the year that will be that'll be kind of live for the MLF brand.
Yep.
And then it's 19, 20, 21, 22. Then next year's the 5th year already. 5 years. That's hard to believe. We're going into the 5th year already.
Yeah, it's gone so fast.
Yeah. Both leagues, both organizations, but you guys do a great job of providing fodder and content for podcasts and shows like BTL.
Good.
Like I said, Joe, you are a invaluable asset to MLF, and I hope that those above you and beside you realize how good of a job you do at disseminating a lot of the information that comes across your desk.
Thank you very much. It's very nice of you.
All right. You got anything else you want to add?
No. Thanks so much for having me on. I'll come back anytime you want to talk.
Sounds good. That is Joe Opager from MLF. See you, Joe.
Take it easy, man. Thank you.
We're going to take our final break of the show, and when we come back, kind of digest some of the things that we heard Joe say and look forward to the remainder of the week. It is BTL on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this.
Vibrating jigs are a great choice for any time of year, and the Kamikaze Swim-On is a perfect match for any vibrating jig. 2 sizes and the unique tail design gives it a bait fish profile and a great swimming action for realism. There are 17 colors. See them all at bigbitebaits.com. The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-Bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com. All right, wrapping things up here on a Wednesday. Tomorrow, day 4 with the man, Frank Scalish. We'll talk about that, kind of digesting what Joe said there. Definitely a scaled back version, particularly for the former, the tour formerly known as the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, now the Invitational. So I guess kind of based on what he said, it seems like you're almost looking at it now as a $5,000 entry fee qualifying level for the BPT. It's interesting as you see that level kind of pare back. You see the expansion over at Bass with what they're doing with all 9 events in the Opens, really encouraging people to fish all 9 in order to qualify for the 2024 Bassmaster Elite Series. They have not come out over on the Bass side with a payout structure yet. And I know a lot of the hang up for the anglers on the new Invitational was the fact that with a $5,000 entry fee, you're still only getting the top 30. You know, they paid half the field on 150 boats, 75, even though it was only like $5,000 down to 75. That's like a 1 in 2 payout. That's a 50% payout. And if you have the sponsors, even if you're getting the $5,000 back, they're like, well, you're just covering your entry fee. True. But if you have sponsors that are already covering your entry fee and you're already ahead, then that is profit for you. So one of the major issues over on Bass has been for years that they are basing the payout on a 150 boat field, which they haven't had for like 4, 5, 6 years. They've had 200 to 230 boats in all these fields, but their payout has not graduated based on the number of entries like it does in a BFL or a Toyota series or your local Wednesday night jackpot or basically any team tournament that you fish in. The payback is based on the number of boats in it. So it'll be a 1 in 3, 1 in 4, 1 in 5. Well, Bass, and I don't know for the life of me why they've done this. It's based on 150 boats, top 40 get paid, right? So that's like what, 1 in 3.5, 40, 80, 120, 160, basically like 1 in 4. That's fine. I can handle that. But what they do when you have 200 plus boats, 230 boats is, so let's add 80 boats to the field. They still just pay 40. So now it's a brutal payback. And all they do is they add money to those top 40 spots. So it's more instead of work down to where in 230 boats, if you're finishing in the top 30% of it or top 25%, you're still getting a check. Now you got to finish in like the top 13% to even cash a check. That has been the major stick up as far as the payback and things with Bass. Now you're asking all these anglers to fish 9 of them. great thing. I love the schedule that they came out with. It looks like there's going to be some off limits for it. But they haven't come out with the payback. So if it's still just the 40, if you're asking now 150, 200, who knows how many are going to sign up for all this 9 to have to finish into the top 12% to get paid, that logistically does not make sense. It doesn't make sense for a guy like me. It doesn't make sense for a guy like anybody who's trying to make this work. So it's got to be the graduated pay scale. So it'll be interesting, and I think your interest of anglers who will who have invites to the new MLF invitationals. I think they're going to look at are they suited for the catch, weigh, release format. These are 5 fish. You're going to weigh the fish in. It's that. But are they suited for the BPT? I know there's some anglers over there that are like, man, I would love to get to the catch, weigh, release format. I think it really suits my style. There are other anglers who say, I don't think it would suit my format. They're more likely to go over to the bass now. But I think a lot of what happens over the next 3 months depends on what bass releases as far as entry fees, off limits, and payback for those that are fishing all 9. And I think that's going to be a lot of the deciding factor for a lot of the invitational guys and a lot of the open guys on the bass side as to whether they return and give it another year or as whether they go to the Toyotas. Because listen, this is a two-way street here, and this is something that hasn't been talked about too. There's a lot of people with bass that feel like they got left out in the cold because now they can't fish the 3 divisions to have a shot for the Elite Series. They still have a shot at the Bassmaster Classic, but they're saying, dude, now I've got to fish all 9 for a chance to go to the Elite Series. I can go over to the Toyota Series that has a better payback, an absolutely insane payout in the championship. In many cases, 3 better lakes that are closer to where I live, and I can make the championship and win $250,000 and 6 figures and a lot of incentive programs over there. So it works both ways. It'll be interesting to see. I think a lot of that depends on when the open payback, if there's a Angler of the Year overall payback on bass. But this thing is far from settled out from a business side. So anyway, big shout out to Joe. He comes on, he takes the tough questions on stuff that he has absolutely no control over and does a great job. So that's all I got for a Wednesday. Tomorrow, Frank in the house. We're going to talk tips and tactics and techniques. Yeah, Gary, that's a good point. NPFL. Money's out there, folks. They jack up their entry fees. They have 6 events. They have a 6-figure championship. They got over 100 guys that are doing that. Money's out there. We'll talk about the NPFL more going forward. I think they're pretty stable for the next 3 or 4 years. But anyway, we got the drama this week. Let's get back to some meat and potatoes, how to catch bass, the education aspect of the entertain, educate, and engage. This has been BTL on a Wednesday. We'll talk to everyone tomorrow.